What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Tattoo Critiques. Today is all about collectors, and we've got some fun ones in here, so you're gonna want to stick around. Once again, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, we try to put out new tattoo content every week, so go ahead and subscribe so you get notified. As I said before, today is all about collectors, so let's check out the first one. This one comes in from Scott, and Scott mentioned in the email that he started off with one artist and it wasn't going so great, as you can tell from this photo here. And this one's not awful by any means, but it doesn't really look like Jim Carrey. There's a lot of bland colors happening, the shirt wrinkles don't make a whole lot of sense. Even the green colors that are in the dog and in the mask's face are very dark, and the mask is meant to be very bright and vivid. The mask is a very fun character, so I'd really like to see some of that fun in this tattoo. Now let's check out how this tattoo turned out after going to another artist. Clearly this tattoo is way better. Those bright greens are in there. I love the outlines of this tattoo as well. Those crazy black outlines just make everything pop so much more, and it really gives a nice flavor to the overall design. There's so many cool things I could talk about with this tattoo. I love the dog's whiskers. I love the hand on the left side going over to the arm, how it's just disconnected from everything else, but it works. The mouth on this tattoo is so much more animated than the previous one. It really just showcases the mask's quirkiness and chaotic personality. Even the tie in the original tattoo is just so boring and stale, and the new artist managed to really bring that thing to life. And it's just a tie. Even the little details like those brown outlines around the fingers and around the corner of the mask suit just show some sort of light when it's not even there. I love the mask. I would absolutely love to rock this tattoo. And sometimes it is beneficial to follow your instinct if some things aren't going the way that you want them to have another artist step in and finish a current project, and you'll likely end up happier in the long run. And you are the one that's wearing this thing after all, so it all comes down to you and how you feel about it. Sick tattoo, Scott. This thing's dope. Thank you so much for sending that over. All right, the next tattoo comes over from Andre, and Andre, you mentioned in your email that you didn't notice a lot of abstract tattoos on this channel, which is a fair assessment. The reason there isn't a lot of abstract tattoos on this channel is because abstract tattoos are generally open to interpretation. You can literally throw a pile of cow dung at a wall and call it art. And I kind of feel the same about abstract tattoos. This thing does look super cool, but I just don't know how to go about critiquing it. It's just not objectively critiquable. It purposefully doesn't have straight lines or smooth shading, so there's only so much I could say. I do like how the tattoo kind of goes over to the other part of the leg, but what do you really want me to say? I mean, if you like it, you like it. I don't not like it by any means, it's just not my kind of style. And when it comes to a critiquing channel, again, there's only so much for me to say. If I had to critique anything, I would just say maybe give that wall in the background a nice coat of fresh paint. But thank you, Andre, so much for sharing that. All right, up next we have one sent in from Bruce, who says he's been watching since day one. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Bruce, for sticking with us. You're the kind of person that keeps this channel alive. So again, thank you very much. Now onto the tattoo. I have to say this thing is sick. Very beautifully done tattoo. I love the way this just rides around the ear. It fits so nice, and the colors are super bold and striking. The outlines are pristine. I absolutely love these tiny little lines on the bird's legs. It just adds a nice overall texture without having to use a lot of complicated shading. The leaves going from green to red is just such a nice touch, and it just ties everything together when it comes to the color of the rose. I also love how this little petal is peeking out to the left of the bird, again just tying everything together. Even this bird's face just seems to have this wild emotion. It's super cool to see. The way the artist used these tiny little lines in the bird's body to almost make it feel fluffy, again, just a super nice addition. I'm sure it's nerve-wracking to get such a bold tattoo like this on your head, but when it turns out as cool as this, you gotta be proud. And again, I absolutely love the way that this tattoo looks like it was drawn specifically for your head. It wasn't just a random drawing or copied from Pinterest and copy-pasted onto your skull. This tattoo is so cool, it almost keeps your eyes away from looking at how bad that anchor is done. I mean, if it were me, I would probably have that same artist redo that anchor if they're willing. And that way, just the whole entire side of your head is just a stellar tattoo. Killer job on the artist, Bruce. This thing is exceptional. And again, thanks for sticking around. The next few come in from Shawn, and Shawn, you really like dragons. Poorly done dragons. No, these things aren't the worst tattoos I've seen, but they just remind me of a shop I worked at in the early 2000s. These things are kind of just slapped on there, not really any great composition or great technical ability for that matter. I mean, if we look at these three dragons here, this one eye at the very bottom is so far off, and this dragon in the middle is missing an eye. So would I be scared if I saw this dragon in real life? Probably not. I'm assuming this is supposed to be a hydra, but it looks more like a hide. Anyway, this other dragon is just, it's an absolute mess. I can't really tell where something starts and where something else ends. Like this leftmost hand, it's just very hard to read, but it does have some sick drop shadows. I would say to at least make this tongue a different color than the body, but I don't think that alone is gonna save this tattoo. And don't get me wrong, I do love a good skin rip tattoo, but this ain't it. And for dragon number 3, we've got this peeking sensual dragon just asking for it. Well, I'm gonna give it to you. And again, this dragon doesn't make a whole lot of sense. His body kind of disappears behind the wing on the right, but that's not exactly where the wing would come from. The wings don't come from the spine, so you still would see a little bit of that body before the wing starts. Also, disclaimer, I don't know much about dragons, but it is kind of weird to have the dragon's wings going into your leg rather than like a dragon claw. But maybe some dragons do just have legs. I couldn't tell you. The lines on this thing are just, they're pretty weak. And the same thing could be said about the scales. They're just, it's kind of a messy tattoo. There's not really any good flow in this entire tattoo, let alone composition. If these tattoos were on me, I would just tell everybody that they were an abstract dragon. That way they have every right to look this way. But hey, I'm sure all your friends at the D&D tournaments love these things. So who am I to say? Thank you so much, Shawn, for sending those over. Up next, we've got one sent over from Carmine, who sent over a small novel. Carmine, you did send over a bunch of tattoos, but we're primarily going to focus on this lobster. I chose to focus on this one because I do think it's the best one you've got. The colors on this lobster are super dope. I love these dark oranges, almost deep reds on the lobster's back. In contrast with that light teal blue, this thing is just very striking. The outlines are solid. Every little hair on the lobster's leg has intention. You can tell that this thing was methodically put together before even tattooing it on your chest. This thing had a solid game plan. It's unfortunate that you won't really get to see this thing when all that hair grows back. We'll just have to call him the hairy lobster. The claws are so sharp, unlike all the dull razors after shaving all that hair. No, I'm just teasing you. I do, however, wonder if there's going to be something else on the left side of this chest because it does look a little lopsided. The dude does indeed abide. This thing rocks. Thank you so much, Carmine, for sending that over. All right, this next one comes in from Chris Bong. And normally we don't mention who the artist is on these collector tattoos, but we gotta give a shout out to the homie Orville, who was just on the Ultimate Tattoo Battle. And if you haven't seen that battle, check it out here, as this has been the biggest project we've ever made on the channel thus far. So I'm not gonna get too far into the weeds on this one. It's bold, it's got straight lines, solid color packing. You asked for a dagger going through a pizza slice, and that's exactly what he gave you. I absolutely love how the cheese is sticking to the blade of the dagger as it went through the slice. It almost reminds me of a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pizza as they're lifting it from the pie. It's just super cheesy. This thing's rad.
Ninja pizza! Ninja pizza?
But once again, gotta give a shout out to Orville. Make sure you give him a follow on Instagram at Orville Tattoo. And thank you so much, Chris, for sending that over. All right, this last one comes in from David Block. And David, you did mention in your email that this tattoo holds a lot of personal meaning for you, which I do appreciate in tattoos. You know, not every tattoo has to have a meaning, but I like it when the collector can tie it to something. However, when it comes to the design of this tattoo, it does look like it's sitting a little crooked. And I'm not sure if that's just the photo, but the way the skull mountain is in the back and this greenery, it just feels like it's tilted a little to the left. Aside from that, I do wish there were darker colors in this tattoo, especially in the greenery. You know, let's see some really dark greens, even some black. Because as it sits, this tattoo is just a bit flat. I'd like to see some better color blending and all those flourishes to the side. It's just not very smooth, and the color blends that are there aren't that great. I do think the artist could have thrown a nice heavy outline around those flourishes as well, just to make those colors that are on the inside a bit brighter. Even these little teepees on the left side get a bit lost because there's not really any heavy contrast. It kind of just blends in with everything else. The letters at the bottom are a nice touch. I do like the fact that it says never grow up, but as it sits, they do feel a bit blown out, especially when we look at the R on never. In my personal opinion, it just looks like this tattoo is made by a not so great artist, but that doesn't mean it can't be fixed up. I would try to find another artist with a strong portfolio that's okay with touching up other people's work, because this tattoo does have a lot of really good potential. It's just very lackluster at the moment. Like we saw with the mask tattoo earlier, things can definitely be punched up. Not the worst tattoo by any means. I'm not shitting on it. It could just definitely use a little TLC. Tender love and care. But thank you, David, for sending that over. All right, now it's time to pick my favorite of the week, which again, I'm kind of at a fork in the road. I absolutely love this tattoo from Bruce Jones, this little bird on the side of the head. This mask tattoo from Scott. The revamp is just a stellar design. And this lobster tattoo sent over from Carmine. It's technically almost perfect. I'm personally flip-flopping back and forth. I can't really decide. I do really love this lobster though, just for the technical ability. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Who do you think deserves to be my favorite of the week? Thank you so much, collectors, for sending these over. Now it's time to put a spotlight on somebody who I think you should all be following, and that artist is Mutated Sushi out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I gotta say, first and foremost, I've never seen a Bulbasaur tattoo look like this. This thing is absolutely insane. Not only is it done exceptionally well, but it's got so much character and life to it. They really put their own spin on a years-old design. It's just super cool. But not only that, the rest of their work is also just as bright and colorful. Even this croc with a tongue, again, this thing is just outrageous. Super fun designs, well executed. Make sure you do yourself a favor and head on over to their page and give them a follow. All right, now that's gonna wrap up this episode. Don't forget to subscribe while you're here, and as always, I will see you guys next week.